Hello everyone. Today is another day of rain and gloom and cold. What a difference from last year. Last year, I was just getting back from living in British Columbia in the Okanagan, and it was hot and dry, and my oh my, what a difference in spring. Like, absolutely crazy, the difference. There's flooding all over the place around me. Whole towns are under evacuation or emergency orders. It's just crazy how quick the weather changes. But again, that's life, right? That's life. That's how we change, right? One minute we're calm and relaxed, the next minute we're a raging river, out of control. And I did a short earlier today, and I read from, again, this book here, this Daily Reflections from AA. So I was going to read on this one a little bit too, just to give you guys, because I've been thinking about this all day since I did that short and since I read that. So I'll just maybe elaborate on that, right, and work it into our health and wellness here on the channel. And but it is from our twisted relations with family, friends, and society at large that many of us have suffered the most. We have been especially stupid and stubborn about them. The primary fact that we fail to recognize is our total inability to form a true partnership with another human being. Can these words apply to me? Am I still unable to form a true partnership with another human being? And that comes right into my life. I don't want to creak. That creaks a lot. That comes right into my life. Right now, as we speak, my partner of 8 years is moving back to the Okanagan. Right? She can't find a decent job here. She doesn't like the weather. She's not happy here. Also, there's issues in our relationship that just haven't been resolved in 8 years. They just continue to keep happening. Right? I don't know how else to say that. We get along in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of ways, it's amazing how well we get along and we can work together in some capacity. In other ways, we do not get along. We do not agree. We do not, we just can't compromise in those ways. And some of them are actually real living ways, like real ways that we want to live our lives, right? We just don't agree. I'm a minimalist at this point in my life. I've owned too much stuff. I see it very clearly, how owning all that stuff really kept me trapped, right? And striving to own all that stuff really trapped me in a prison. It was a prison of my own making, right? At 21, I bought my first house with the help of my Baba, my grandmother. And she gave me the $3,500 for the first down payment, right? And it was a fixer-upper, and I paid 35 grand for it. You know, it was cheap. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought that that's what I was supposed to do for society purposes. That's what they tell us to do, right? Buy a house, you get a good job, or you go to school, get a good job, buy a house, and that's what we're supposed to do, right? A lot of those I didn't quite get, right? I didn't make it through high school. I'm one credit short of high school, of grade 12. And I've never had the opportunity to go back. I guess I could have made the opportunity, but again, once you have that mortgage payment and you have those bills that have to be paid every month, it limits what you can do, right? It limited everything because now I had to go to work. I had to go to work to pay that mortgage payment. I know $35,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but it was a real fixer-upper, so I had to put money into it. And back when I bought it, I mean, $50,000 was still a lot of money, right? Nowadays, it doesn't seem like a lot. But back in the early 90s, that was still quite a bit. I know it wasn't as much as a lot of people had paid, you know, but it was still quite a bit. So I had to go to work, right? I had to make those payments. I had the electricity, I had the insurance, I had the taxes, I had the mortgage, right? I had a vehicle. Now, when I lost my license, I didn't have the vehicle. That made it even harder because I didn't have a license quite often when I was first on my own. So what having that mortgage, even though that's what everyone says, you know, that's what my family told me. It really limited what I could do. I couldn't travel. I wanted to go to Fernie, British Columbia, to go skiing because there's 33 to 36 feet of powder snow a year, right? The most powder snow I think of anywhere in North America is in Fernie, British Columbia. I wanted to go ski, right? I was still in good shape back then. My hip and my back weren't destroyed like they were in my 30s, right? I was in my early 20s. I could still function fairly well. Addiction was one thing that stopped me, along with being in a mortgage, right? Having that house. That house stopped me from doing a lot with my life. And I think in a way it kept me in that addiction. It gave us a place, me and my drinking buddies, a place to drink all the time. It was a hidey hole when I was hungover. It kept me locked into working for companies that weren't good for me, just for that paycheck, just for the paycheck, right? It was never anything I wanted to do that I loved doing. It was always just a paycheck. And having that mortgage, that weight over my head, forced me, in my mind, forced me to do those things, right? Family didn't help me. They just kept it reinforcing that, oh, it's a house, you got to buy your house, you got to pay the house, you got to blah, blah, blah. Like it, and they're all still fixated on the biggest house, the best house, the nicest car, the newest car, going on vacations and stuff and putting it on credit and just living this life that is so fake, right? It's so fake. It's fake because it's all to show off to others that don't really care, right? Nobody really cares what kind of car you drive. You know, for a brief second, they may say, oh, that's a nice car, or, oh, that's a piece of shit, either or. But really, as soon as they turn around, they're not thinking about your car, right? They're just not. The house you live in, yeah, people may say, oh, you're living in that little shack or whatever. But again, the minute they step away, they're not thinking about it anymore, right? It's you. It's me, right? I'm the one that gives value to that house or not, or to that car or not, or to the Harley Davidson motorcycle or the snowmobile or the quad or the trike or the boat. You know, I've owned them all. In my mind now, they're just a trap. They're a consumerism trap, telling me that that's what I derive my wealth from, right? That's how I know if I'm wealthy or if I'm doing well in life, is by all the stuff I own, right? Instead of how healthy I feel inside, right? Instead of being able to have time to go to the gym and go for walks, instead of having the money, instead of buying the car and making that payment, or the vacation and taking all that money and going there, or the big fancy house for 2 or 3 or 4 people, you know, you got 6 bedrooms, but 4 people, full finished basement with more bedrooms in there, you know, but you should be taking that money and putting it into your health, into eating organic food. People tell me it's too expensive to eat organic food, but they're driving a brand new Chevy or Ford truck, 3/4 ton, whatever, $100,000 truck. You know, and making payments on that. And they drive the thing to the grocery store and home, and to work and home. They might use it to pull their boat that they can't really afford to the lake every 2 weeks or whatever when they get paid, because that's all they can afford to use it. I mean, if they're lucky, right? I mean, I used to take my boat out maybe once a year. Once a year. That's all the time I had, right? My Harley Davidson, when I first bought it, I rode it every weekend. And then the second year, I rode it every second or third weekend. And then the third year I owned it, I rode it once that year. And the fourth year, I rode it once that year. Right? It's the same thing with the quad, the trike. I just, because I was working all the time to pay all the bills for all the stuff, you know, because you have to have a place to store all that stuff. So you have to have a garage. You know, you can leave your boat outside, but it has to have a cover on it. It has to be, the batteries have to come in. And if you don't bring the batteries in the winter, they freeze and they're done. And so it's just constant maintenance and money. And it just sucked all the life right out of me. And it kept me trapped. It kept me trapped in this loop of owning, maintaining, insuring, and buying more. Right? And I'm not saying don't own a Harley Davidson or don't own a boat or don't own anything. That's not what I'm trying to get at. And please don't think that that's what I mean. If you have the time, you know, to ride that Harley Davidson every day after work, or to work and back in the summer, right? Or every weekend with your buddies, that's what you do. Then own that Harley. Own that Harley and ride that Harley and enjoy it and ride it. And when you're not riding it anymore, sell it. You don't need to keep it as a reminder of the good times you've had on it. You will remember those good times forever. I remember all the good times I had on my Harley Davidson. And I did. I had a lot of good times on it. But I don't need to own it and collect it. Right? It's the same thing with the boat. I don't need to own the boat to remember the good times I had in the boat. Right? And now in my life now, when I get more time, right? Once I clean up my life, because my life's kind of a mess right now, right? I haven't gone into that with you guys, but my life is a mess. My life is messy. And I need to clear it up and get things going on the track I want. And if I have time and I have a bunch of friends and we want to go fishing every weekend, or we want to go wakeboarding every weekend, then I'm going to buy a boat. Right? And I'm going to do that. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's going to be what I do on the weekends. And the minute that boat is sitting in my driveway, 2 or 3 weekends a month, that boat is sold. Gone. No more maintenance, no more time, no more energy into that boat. Moving on, right? Because with the boat, you need a truck or an SUV, something to pull it with, right? And so then you have to buy that and you have to maintain that. And like in the world we live in right now, fuel is not cheap. Maintenance is not cheap on anything. Everything is going up in price. So it makes it where I'm really thinking about where my money is going and what I'm doing with my time. Right? I'm going to be laser focused on that over the next few years, right? Especially now that I passed 50. right? Like, I really need to start making the best choices for my life going forward. And I suggest, I don't care what age you're at, if you're watching this, make the best choices for your life. Think about these things very, very carefully, what I'm saying, right? Own things and enjoy those things and use them. And the minute you're not using them, liberate them out of your life and get that money, whatever money you can get for it, and put that into the next adventure and the next thing, right? When I was young, I wanted to go skiing in Fernie. So I'm going to make a plan here before I turn 60 to get my ass to Fernie, British Columbia, and go skiing. Right? How am I going to do that? I don't know yet. But it isn't going to be by owning another house or by owning a new truck or by owning a new motorcycle or by any of that way. It's going to take me being very diligent on where my money goes and planning for it and making it happen. Right? It's not a ton of money, right? But when all your money is going to other things, all these vehicles and all this other stuff, it's very tough to get the $2,000 together to go skiing for the weekend in Fernie, right? And that's about what it's going to be. Like it's a few $100 for the lift ticket. It's probably $300 a night for the hotel room. You got skis, poles, boots, bindings, all that. I don't own any, so I'm going to have to buy them or I'm going to have to rent them. Right? So it's a couple $1,000s just to go skiing for one weekend in Fernie. And I really want to do that before I get too old to enjoy it. And I'm going to do a lot of stuff over the next 10 years before I get too old to enjoy it. I'm not going to wait till I'm 60 or 65 to start traveling and to doing fun things like that. I need to do them now while I still have the energy and the strength. And if that means I have to work at Walmart as a greeter in my 70s and 80s, well, then so be it. Right? I'll have the time then. I won't be able to go out and go skiing, powder snow, backcountry skiing in Fernie, and heli skiing. I won't be able to do that. So I better do that now. I better do that right now. As fast as I can, I better get that done. I do not want to live, I think I've said this before, in this province of Manitoba in the winters anymore. Ever again. This will be my last winter here. And I will die trying to get the hell out of here for next year. I can't do it this winter. I just don't have things set up, right? It takes time to set these things up. So if you're younger, just set them up now. And if you're older like me, midlife, let's get her done, right? Woman, man, doesn't matter. If you have things you want to do in your life, get out there and do them. And that's a reason why this relationship that I'm in, that's a big reason why it's not going to go forward. We can still be friends. We can still hang out once in a while. All that stuff, that's perfectly fine because we do not hate each other. And I'm really glad that we're changing the relationship now before there's all that resentment and hate. Right? We can still get along fairly well. Right? I'm helping her move. I'm going to send her some money to make sure that she's got an apartment and she's got some cash when she starts this new job she's got out there, which is a good job. And she would never find that job here. Right? She would never find that here. So her moving back to Penticton is a blessing for her because that's what she wants. That's where she wants to live. That's the job she wants. She's going to bring her life into the place she wants it to be. And she's never had the opportunity to have her own apartment where it's her apartment only, and she can decorate it how she wishes, and she can put things how she wants, and she can go to bed at the time she wants to go to bed, and wake up when she wants to wake up, and go do what she wants to do because she's never had that. Before me, she lived with her mom, and she was a caregiver to her mother for years and years and years and years and years, right, till her mother passed on. And now she's been stuck with me for 8 years, and us butting heads over what we're going to do next and never getting along on the financial issues, because I want to go do this and I want to save up and do this, and she wants to go and do this and save up and do that. And it doesn't work, right? You got to be on the same page. You got to be going in the same direction, working together as a team to get ahead, or it just doesn't work. Whether you have kids or not, you're just going to be fighting each other constantly. And you're never going to get to where either of you want to be. So that's where this comes in, right? This twisted relations with our family, friends, and society at large that many of us have suffered the most. My family and that kept pushing me to this house, pushing me to own a house. My family never really supported my wanting to go to Fernie to go skiing or to go traveling or to do any of that stuff, because you wouldn't have the house and the car and all the stuff, right? You got to get that stuff first, and then you go and you travel and do that stuff. My mom and dad and mom and stepdad, they did not agree in any way on how the other one wanted to live. It was always that butting of heads, right? So I learned that was normal. I thought that was normal to not be working together. I thought that was just how everybody's family was, right? Till I got older and I started to realize, no. The families that have all the stuff and go on vacation and aren't living on a credit card, they work together. They plan, they work, they have the same goals. Right? I didn't know that. You know? And a lot of that goes back and creates my addiction. Or sets me up for that addiction. Let me rephrase that. It sets me up for that addiction. Because I needed to block out the dysfunction in my family. I needed to block that out. And how did I block that out? I used drugs and alcohol to block that out. It's sad for me to say that, but that's what I did. I used drugs and alcohol to block out the dysfunction in my childhood. Because I was in such pain and I did not like myself because of where I came from. And I thought that's what made me valuable. I thought that people were going to look down on me for the rest of my life because I'm a bastard child. Right? Never really knew my dad. My mom was going to give me up for adoption when I was young. She was a young, impregnated girl in the 70s. I mean, that's not easy to get over. Right? When my dad and my stepmom had their kids, I wasn't part of that family. When my stepdad and my mom had my brother, all of a sudden it was them, and I was always left out. I don't think they see that. But they would go and do things as a family, and I would be off on my own. Right? And the same thing with my dad and my stepmom. They would be off doing things with their family, and I would be left to my own devices. Right? So I was alone. I was being told all this consumerism shit, own this and own that, and this is what life is about. Right? I was poo-pooed for wanting to travel. I was poo-pooed on for wanting to go to Fernie skiing and all this stuff. I was told that was a waste of time by both families. Right? And you got to work, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work, you got to save, you got to get this house and this car and this stuff and own all this stuff. Right? That's what value, that's how you're going to be valued. Right? And so I don't know about everyone else. I know there's a lot of people in the same boat as me. I got bad messaging from my family and my friends. Not all my friends. Some of my friends tried to tell me, and I didn't listen to them, and I started hanging around different friends because those friends weren't telling me the same as the friends that were on the same side as my family, telling me to own all this shit. Right? That's a big part of my addiction. You add that with the fact that I couldn't run and do the stuff I used to enjoy to deal with my stress. Right? So all these things add up to create a dysfunctional life, a completely dysfunctional life. I had a completely dysfunctional life because I couldn't form true partnerships with anyone. Right? I couldn't trust anyone. Because inside of me knew better than what my family was telling me and my friends were telling me. But I didn't listen to this inside. I listened to them. And by listening to them, I didn't live the life that I truly wanted to live, that my soul wanted to live. I didn't get to do all those things that I wanted to do. Right? I hated myself so much because of the mixed messaging in my family and all this horrible thing that they would, and they didn't see it. They didn't see that they were doing that. They still believe it. Right? But it made me hate myself because inside of me wasn't matching what they were saying and what the media tells us and the government tells us and all these people tell us. My soul knew better. It knew what I wanted and what I needed to get out of life. And I wasn't listening. So I wasn't loving myself, and I wasn't caring about myself, and I wasn't looking after myself. Right? Because I was living for somebody else's dream and somebody else's goals. I was living a false life. And I couldn't trust. And I still have a hard time trusting people. Right? I still have a hard time trusting people. That's a big thing between me and my soon-to-be ex, is neither of us can trust because of the families we grew up in and the way we were taught and trained. And it's sad to say. And I wish it wasn't true. But it's very, very true. And by not being able to trust others and then you can't work with them. Right? You can't get on the same page and the same goals and the same everything because you don't trust them fully. Right? Don't trust my parents because they would say something and then not do it. Say something and then not do it. Say something and not do it. So that's what I expect from everybody. So when somebody tells me, oh, I'm going to do this for you, I say, in my mind, it's like, oh yeah, sure, fuck. Good luck. That's never going to happen. And you know what? Most of the time it doesn't happen because they're in the same loop. The once in a while it happens, I'm stunned. Absolutely stunned that somebody would actually do that for me. Right? Isn't that sick? Isn't that sick that's how I feel all the time? From family and friends and everyone. That's how I feel. And I have to try to retrain myself to be able to trust people somehow. I don't know how. Right? I'm 51 years old. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Right? Maybe you guys can help me in the comments. I don't know. I just know that when I was doing this reading today, we get told all these false stories by the world. And who we really need to listen to is ourselves, our inner voice, our soul. That's what's important. Looking after this body, this machine, is super important. Because that's how we're going to go out and we're going to explore the world. And we're going to go skiing in Fernie. And we're going to go down to Mexico for the winters. and we're going to enjoy our lives, and we're not going to work ourselves to death to own this big fancy fucking house that we don't need, and this new truck and this new car and all this crap. All this crap. If you were blessed enough to either grow up with a buttload of money or have worked your ass off to become a multi-millionaire or whatever, and you can afford to have all that stuff and just have it sit there, and it doesn't natter in the back of your mind about, oh, I got to pay this bill and pay that bill and blah, 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 then that's awesome, man. You guys, awesome. Awesome. Again, if you're watching this and you're in that position, please help me or tell me how to get to that position. I am open and ready to change my life. The way things are right now in my life and the money coming in that I have and the way it is, I just have to be minimalist and say, this is what I'm doing, and just focus on that one thing. Right? And once I get that done, then I can focus on the next one, and I can work towards that goal. And that's the way I'm going to do it. And if somehow, some way, I make a buttload of money on some endeavor that I am privileged to come across, then I will own some more stuff, right? As long as it's not affecting my psyche, right? I still don't see a point in it anymore, but if you got millions and millions and millions of dollars and more coming in every month, then it doesn't matter so much, right? But if you're just a normal 9-to-5 working Joe Schmo like me, these things really matter. Really, they really matter, and they affect us in massive ways. And it's this lie that the world has told us, right? It's this lie. The most important thing, again, for us is our health, our mental wellness, and to get out there and do what we came to this planet to do, which is to go and explore and have fun and enjoy our family and friends and the world around us, and not live a consumer-based lifestyle like we're doing in North America for sure. Right? It's all about what you own. And I'm so sick of it, and I'm done with it. I am absolutely done with it. If I have to drive an old car and live in an old little house, then so be it. If I get to go and enjoy my life, right? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to travel and enjoy my life. And I hope you all join me in that. Like or don't like, whichever. Give me something. Subscribe. Comment. I'm out.